Good morning, everybody. This is Julie Reynoso, and we're so excited that you're joining us for our writing and reading workshop pilot update for all of you principals. And I'm going to take just a quick moment to have everyone that is present to share who they are so that you can be familiar with their voice as they're going to be presenting. Please know that as we go through this, you're only going to hear our voices. You will not see us, and we're not seeing you. If you do have additional questions or comments as we go through that, there is an opportunity for you to ask those questions, and we will do our best to respond to them during this broadcast. If we're not able to get to them, we will make sure to get them out to you as soon as possible. So without further ado, I will begin with Dr. Sarian for an introduction.
Good morning, everyone. Marissa Sarian, I support secondary schools.
Allison Beecher, and I'm one of the literacy coaches that is leading up the writing and reading workshop pilot.
And this is Jamie Marsh. I'm another literacy coach working with Allison to lead the reading and writing workshop pilot.
And hi, it's Helen Hill, and I'm your Director of Curriculum Instruction and Professional Development. And I'm going to go over some nuts and bolts on this Hangout. For those of you who've done a Hangout on air, this will be very familiar to you, but just so that we're all on the same page and know how to use the Q&A feature that we're going to utilize throughout the presentation, I'm going to play a short 2-minute video that will give us a common background.
Participating in Google Hangouts on air. The first thing you're going to do is go to your calendar event. Inside that calendar event, you should find your link to the Hangout on air. Once you've copied and pasted that into your browser, it should take you to the Hangout page. All you'll have to do is click on play. Once you're in the Google Hangout on air, you will see the showcase to the right. In this showcase, you will see links that the facilitators have provided for you. If you click on the waffle, you'll be able to access the Q&A section. In this section, you can ask a question during the live presentation. Once you are done typing in your question, click Submit. You will see all questions asked in this window. In the live presentation, you will see the slides as the presenter changes them. You will also be able to tell when the presenter is answering your question because it will be highlighted in blue. When they are finished answering this question, it should disappear from your window. After the presentation is archived, you will still have access to all the questions asked. You can click on the arrow and it will take you to the section in the video where that question was addressed. If you need to go back to the showcase to access any of the links or documents, you can do so at any time. When you're done, simply close your window. And that's how to participate in your Google Hangouts on air.
If everyone could go ahead and go to their waffle and pull up their Q&A section if you haven't already done so. Please type in for us just your name so we know who's available on the air or on the Hangout with us. We can see Francis, Esther, Angela, and Charlie so far, and just wanted to make sure that everyone is able to hear us before we move on. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, everyone.
All right, so as we go through the slides, you have connection to those, so you'll use these for your reference in the future. And all of us here on the panel will be providing information so that you have a more educated understanding of what this journey will look like for a future in Pasadena Unified. So we're going to go ahead and begin with the questions to guide our discussion. Our first question is, what is balanced literacy? The big hullabaloo. What is writer's workshop or writing workshop? How do they fit together? What are the workshop pilot commitments? And what is the workshop pilot timeline? And what do you need from me?
Okay, so we wanted to begin by giving you a little background on balanced literacy. We know that all the principals will have the opportunity to attend an institute later this month, but just to give you an overview. So balanced literacy, the first thing we should all kind of norm around is that it is not a program, it's actually a methodology, it's an approach to teaching literacy. So it recognizes, or we recognize, that readers and writers need a variety of different opportunities to learn. It's a curricular methodology that integrates various components of literacy instruction. And at its core is assessment. It requires assessment-based planning. It also involves explicit instruction in the strategies and skills of proficient reading and writing. There's a great emphasis on the use of authentic texts within a literature-rich environment. And it reflects a gradual release of control. So the responsibility is gradually shifted from the teacher to the students within balanced literacy. Okay, that's balanced literacy in a nutshell. Here are the components and where we're looking at going over the next few years in our district. So the first main component is reading workshop. Within reading workshop, you have that explicit instruction happening within a mini lesson. There's a block of time where students are reading independently from books of their choice, books they can read, and conferring in small group work happening within that independent reading time. There's also closure to a workshop through a teaching share, some partnership work, and in some grades, book clubs. Okay, the other component of balanced literacy is the piece we're talking about today, the writing workshop. It also has the same exact structure of a mini lesson, independent writing with conferring and small group work, and the teaching share and partnership work that happens at the end. We'll walk you through those components a little bit more in just a minute. The other component of balanced literacy, which you've probably heard a lot about, is the small group instruction piece. When we look at guided reading or strategy lessons, this is also where you might have special interventions happening, especially if you're coordinating with support for Tier 2, Tier 3 interventions for academics, and book clubs. And then there are two other important components of balanced literacy. One is the read aloud with accountable talk. Some people might refer to this as an interactive read aloud. And then the other component is your phonics and word study. So you can see in a true balanced literacy approach, you have all of these components working together to help students grow as readers and writers. I will let you know that for our work with Scholastic and the institute that they're doing with the principals, with the coaches, with the teachers, there are a few pieces that are going to be emphasized for year one. So they're going to do a lot of PD work around the interactive read aloud first. The second piece is the independent reading time with conferring and small group work. As you know, teachers, I think everybody's heard that teachers are going to be receiving classroom libraries to support that independent reading program at your school. And then the third piece is guided reading. So Scholastic will really, in year one, emphasize PD and work around read aloud, independent reading, and guided reading. But we wanted you to see how all of this fits together in the big picture. Right.
So what is writing workshop? So in writing workshop, we're inviting students to really live, work, and learn as writers. And they're going to be going through a whole process of learning how to collect ideas for writing, drafting, revising, editing, and then publishing their work in terms of narrative and expository text. And really there's three main components of writing workshop. So there starts with a 10 to 15 minute mini lesson, and here's where the teacher is going to be able to provide direct instruction to students in an explicit manner, really working on developing proficient skills that writers use within the students in their classroom. They get to demonstrate those skills and provide students with guided practice before sending them off. And then there's a block of time for students to be able to write independently. Students have times to write. They get to apply what they're learning in those mini lessons that they had. They're learning strategies. They're receiving feedback from their teacher through one-to-one conferences. There's sometimes even small group instruction that might be focused on a strategy for certain students in order to move them along in the writing process. And then finally, it closes with a 5 to 10 minute share where students have a chance to share their drafts and their process as writers, either with a partner or a small group or out to the whole class so that everybody is able to receive feedback and be supported in the process.
Okay. So next we want to talk about what the workshop pilot commitments are. We had over 140 applicants for this year 2 pilot, and we sat down and really took time to review each application and we've been mindful of who the best candidates would be for a year 2 pilot situation in our district. So just to give you a little background, what we've learned from the thousands of schools that have piloted this work across the nation, and then just from our year 1 pilot here in Pasadena, is that the teachers in schools who are most successful with really launching this work in a district are those who are in these trifecta environments, if you will. So the first thing we really were looking for is committed teachers. And in a minute, Allison will talk about exactly what that means. The next thing we looked for is a teacher that's at a site where there's a committed CRT or some sort of site-based coach, some sort of instructional leader to help guide that work. Helen will speak to that in a minute. And then we were also looking at schools where there's a committed principal who can really serve as that instructional leader to move this work forward. And that's where, when we talk about a trifecta, that's where the trifecta comes in place.
So when we talk about what are the teacher commitments, in the application that teachers filled out in January, there were a list of commitments that they needed to agree upon. The first one was, I have a desire to grow as a reader and writer and teacher of reading and writing. I'm committed to turning my classroom into a richly literate reading and writing workshop. I encompass a collaborative spirit in sharing ideas and learning from others. And this is one of the really key pieces, especially for this year 2, is that we were looking for teachers who would be able to demonstrate that collaborative spirit, as well as being able to feel comfortable with a process that is still sort of moving and growing and may at times be a little unclear or uncomfortable to them as they're kind of working through it with the support of coaches and CRTs and principal and other members on their community that are also participating in this. So we looked very specifically at what that would look like. We also wanted to make sure that they were able to attend the full writing year 1 or reading year 2 institute to which they would be accepted, whether it was spring or summer of 2016. Were they able to attend a summer 2016 planning day for their first unit of study? And that would be either Friday, July 29th or Friday, August 5th. Were they open to receiving ongoing coaching support during my reading or writing workshop throughout the 2016-17 school year? So this was another big component, is that they would be receiving coaching on an ongoing basis, and they needed to really be open to having someone coming into their classroom and providing feedback and brainstorming with them and working with them in their classrooms. Were they able to participate in ongoing unit planning and PD sessions during the school day during the 2016-17 school year? And are they committed to implementing the units of study within their reading and writing workshop during the 2016-17 school year?
So as you can see, there's quite a lot that the teacher needs to commit to doing in their own classroom and in their own learning and growth. But we know that the teacher would not be nearly as successful if they don't have the appropriate support at their school site on a consistent basis. And so this is where the CRT or assistant principal or instructional leader or lead teacher comes into play. We really need to make sure that there's an on-site coach supporting these teachers, and we need them to attend a 4-day writing institute, which some of yours already have. We need them to participate in ongoing writing labs for coaches and CRTs throughout the upcoming school year as touch points for themselves. They need to ensure a collaborative working relationship with the principal and on all instructional topics. And we want them to have an eagerness and ability to support each pilot teacher as a coach during his or her writing workshop weekly, because we need to have consistent and frequent check-ins. And additionally, we want them to have a commitment to working with the ILT or the instructional leadership team to build the infrastructure and supporting the implementation on campus.
So the principal plays a huge role in this process as well. So we are going to do our part to support you from the district office, but really your commitment to the success is going to be critical. What does commitment? We know you're all very committed, but specifically for the purpose of this balanced literacy approach, we need you to attend a 2-day spring writing institute, which will be on March 8th and 9th. The first day will be at McKinley, the second day at AMLA. We need you to be there for the entire 2 days. And unfortunately, you can't send someone else in your place. The second one, as an instructional leader, we know that you do a lot of classroom visits, but we need to have these be systematic and routine visits to these classrooms and for them to be non-evaluative. So you need to be a thought partner to be able to encourage and move the process along. You need to participate in fall and spring writing labs, and those dates will be determined so that you'll be able to calendar them ahead of time. This will be for the next school year, 16-17.
All right, so then you also need to think about, as a principal, and your very busy schedules, the participation in monthly principal coach check-ins with instructional rounds. And as we are going through that right now and preparing for that, you need to be really mindful of thinking about who the teachers are that are committing to this, what your problem of practice is, and how that's all going to tie into the 16-17 school year with additional support. There needs to be a commitment to support each pilot teacher with the resources and materials needed to implement this with fidelity. Allison and Jamie are working on a compilation of what those resources and supply lists will look like, and they will be coming to you shortly so that you can plan effectively in how you'll support your students and your staff. And finally, being committed to building the infrastructure on your campus to support the writing workshop implementation. And this really goes back to whom we have selected to be your pilot teachers. There really needs to be a devotion on your part and on the CRT or support teacher on your campus, as well as the teacher. There really needs to have this mindset of really moving your school forward, and additionally making sure that your teachers really identify the students within their classroom, so they are really teaching from an instructional delivery where they really know the students. And it refers back to what Jamie said earlier for the assessments that will be used frequently to do check-ins. And there just needs to be kind of a sense of urgency and a relentlessness and just this pursuit of that we have great opportunity to change the way we're doing things for the effectiveness of not only our staff, but for our students ultimately.
Okay, so let's look at the workshop pilot timeline. As most of you know, we've been in year 1 this year with 4 schools piloting and a group of about 35 teachers. Since we came back from winter break, we've been putting a lot more effort into creating the systems and structures to grow this work for next year. So far in January, we had a Winter Writing Institute for coaches and CRTs. We also had our year 2 pilot application go out, and the deadline was January 15th. The window for reviewing those applicants began January 19th and will end this week. That's the review window with coaches, CRTs, and your input. So for you, the deadline is we need principals to submit their feedback on a Google Sheet by Thursday, February 11th. Helen will talk a little bit more about that, or Julie, in just a minute. The next steps are the March 8th and 9th Writing Institute for principals. Then we have our Spring Writing Institute for our year 2, first half of the cohort, so cohort 2A, those who said they would like to come in the spring. We have also the Reading Institute happening the last week of July, so all of our year 1 teachers had the opportunity to apply for the phase 2 reading workshop portion of this rollout. And we have one other summer institute being offered in August, so teachers have that option of spring or summer, so we're considering cohort 2B. And then August 5th is a big writing unit planning day where all of those year 2 teachers will come together to plan their first unit of study. We actually have teachers who are piloting this year who will help facilitate those small group planning sessions and be able to provide a lot of input and support for teachers who are new to the work. Great.
All right, so what do you need from me and or us? Because this is a team effort and we are with you through every step of this process. It has been incredibly successful with those who have launched out this year and been the trailblazers. From Allison and Jamie's perspective, we're so grateful for their support so that we know when moving forward, there's additional team members and you are absolutely 100% a part of that team. So in order to know what you need from us, we really need you to take a moment to review the list that's going to be coming to you of the teachers that have been selected as a participant, and then those that have not been selected for various reasons already listed before. The Google Sheet will be shared with you at the close of this meeting, and you'll see the title is 2016-17 Workshop Pilot School Review List. Second, we need you then to go onto a Google Sheet, indicate under notes any anticipated teacher or CRT changes. Some of you have indicated that you are wanting to note that there are some changes that will be happening through your grade levels. Many of you are doing your intent to return and your plan for the 16-17 school year. This is the time to really think about who those teachers are that are participating. Are they strong enough to be moved to critical grade levels? So please make sure that we know that, so that in terms of planning on our end and the tools that will be needed for your end, please make sure that that's indicated on that sheet. You need to complete this by this Thursday, by February 11th, and we are asking that it's by the close of your school day. I know some of you have later times than 5 p.m., but for purposes of going into the holiday weekend, we really do need to have it done by the 5 o'clock hour. And finally, we will need for you to have that conversation, and Marissa's going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like, but you are going to need to communicate with individual teachers whether or not they were accepted or whether they were not accepted. And we will need to provide that communication prior to Friday, February 19th, and we do anticipate that some teachers will ask those questions as to why perhaps they were not selected. And you now have all the components of why a really effective teacher is being put forth and how they can cause change on their campus. So Marissa's going to talk just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we just want you to really celebrate the fact that so many teachers decided to apply to this process, and to really, it takes a lot of courage and time and effort. So they are all amazing in our eyes. I think, we had to, I wasn't part of the decision part, but we had to look at the capacity in all areas, in the capacity at the district office to support multiple teams, of capacity at the school side, and the teachers. So a lot of decisions. It was very careful review of the process, so they shouldn't feel like, they were rejected, or so. I think having a skillful conversation is going to be very, very important. So Julie and I are available if you want to practice with us.
Yeah, and this kind of goes to the same kind of note of, our March 15th notes. And, it's a fragile situation, and people will feel like that they're, for whatever reason. But, we were willing, like Marissa said, to have those careful conversations and the tools that could be needed to know why the teacher is still a great teacher. But individually, if there is a teacher that has not been selected to participate with us for the pilot, it does not mean on any terms that you cannot support that teacher on your campus and embed some of the great things that you're going to learn and that other staff are going to learn, and that you work to build that collaborative effort on your campus. So please know that even though it's not officially with us in this pilot, they are absolutely on board and they are part of the PUSD family. And we look to you to be that leader. You know your staff the best, and we know that you will find the best means to support each and every teacher, whether or not they were selected or not. They are still a critical component to this.
I'm sorry. I'd like to add that on March 8th and 9th, we're going to extend the invitation to all principals. They might not have calendared those dates, but I think the training will be open to all principals because eventually everyone will be involved.
Correct. And we know that we've given you quite a bit of information to digest. We have provided what we feel are the most important components of what this future looks like for us. And so we just ask that you take a few moments, walk away, come back later today, because time is of the essence, and to really look at, am I willing to be 100% committed? We can't do 99.9. We need 100% from you and your team and the selected teachers. And finally, if you have any questions that you have at the close of this, we are asking that if it's a secondary question, that you could address that to Dr. Sarian, Allison Beecher, and Jamie Marsh directly. If it is an elementary question that you feel is something that we can directly answer, then to direct it to myself, to Allison, and to Jamie, and we will absolutely get to you. But again, we are looking at our time frame. We are 2 days out from your feedback and your commitment. After that, we will move forward, and as we say, there are no regrets. So please make sure that you are willing to jump on board this literacy train, and we're very excited about what PUSD will look like in the near future.
So we're going to stay on for, I know it is actually past 10:30, but we're going to stay on for 4 more minutes until 10:40 because I'm sure that there's a lot of information that we're digesting, and we'll keep the Q&A feed open. If you have anything that occurs to you in the next few minutes, go ahead and type it in and we can respond to it immediately. But if you do need to walk away, again, as Julie and Marissa stated, they're available for contact, and of course, Allison and Jamie with their expertise. In a few moments.
Open the camera and wave at them.
In a few moments, I am gonna send you your school-specific list of your teachers who applied, and you'll see whether they were accepted based on the criteria that we just shared with you, or if they were a no, and which means that you'll have to have that careful conversation about them, building the groundwork this year and joining us in the future. At the end of the day, we also had to take into account capacity and the ability to truly, with quality, support each of these individuals. And we know that you understand that it's a very rigorous task, and so we want to be very intentional about who we can very well support this year. So thank you very much for your leadership and for your willingness to take this on and consider this opportunity.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead. Hi, we had a question from someone who joined a little bit late. Once we stop this broadcast, this actually will be archived using the same link that was provided to you on your Google Calendar invite. You can go back and watch the archive.